We rarely talk about conservatives that use religion in order to defend same-sex marriage, but country singer Carrie Underwood has done so recently. In fact, she spoke to Britain's The Independent and she said the following: "As a married person myself, I don't know what it's like to be told I can't marry somebody I love and want to marry. I can't imagine how that must feel. I definitely think we should all have the right to love and love publicly the people that we want to love." Okay.
God bless her.
She's not. Is there some reason to believe she's conservative?
I don't know whether I don't think she's conservative, but she was raised Baptist. She's still, a believer in her faith. So it's.
She's a churchgoer.
She's a churchgoer. And another thing that I find really interesting is, it might sound like it's not that big of a deal for her to say something like that, but it really is. Her fan base is very, very conservative. She's a country singer, and a lot of evangelicals love her music as well. So to come out and say, like, hey, my religion, and I'm paraphrasing this, but she basically said, like, my religion tells me that we should love one another, not judge one another. And that's like, damn. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's funny that it's seen as a surprise these days, to Ben's point, right? Because we're so unused to Christians being, like, Christians in the open, public, religious leaders, etc., being decent people and saying, like, love one another. No, seriously, that seems like such a foreign thing for someone who's like a devout Christian to come out and say, let's love one another. That we're like, whoa, what happened? Why did she say that? That's really weird.
So let me jump in. The reason why I brought this story up is because I think she's representative of most religious people in the country, right? Unfortunately, the squeaky wheel gets the most attention. So whenever we do coverage of religious people, they turn out to be fundamentalists, and those are like the most deplorable people in the country, right?
It'd be funny if we fixed the... Go ahead, sorry.
But in the case of Carrie Underwood, I think she represents the majority of religious people. They're open-minded, they want to use their religion for good, to help with poverty, to accept others, to love others, and that's great.
There's nobody who convinced me that the Pope hasn't made a difference in the number of times we're seeing little things like this. Like, that mattered. What he said, the way he changed, the way he started talking. It matters. It sends out a subtle signal to other religious leaders. We talked about it, that it's not only a door opening for them to say, well, maybe I could say something like this. It's, hey, I don't want to be the only guy not saying this. Like, he's getting credit for saying this. I don't know if Carrie Underwood directly paid attention to it, but maybe subtly she's like, oh, look at this, the most important religious leader in the world is saying these things.
Yeah, so maybe it's okay to start actually living and practicing Christian values.
Yeah.
And we can
Isn't that weird?
we can publicly state Christian values. So that's like what you're saying. So you're saying when someone does that, we forget. That's how you saw how the right wing freaked out when the Pope started talking the true message of Jesus about helping the poor, and we should be helping those the least amongst us. And they freaked out. So what the Pope did was out those guys for using Jesus to hide all their bullshit, right? And so then what do you do when the Pope outs you for being you got to shit on Jesus, and that's what Jesus wouldn't do this. He wouldn't. He'd be a supply sider. Jesus would be a gun-toting, self-reliant, and who defended the rich. That's who Jesus would be.
By the way, they've literally said that over the last 3 weeks. We've done a couple of different stories where we had the general who said that Jesus would come back with an AR-15.
Yes.
Right, because one book of the Bible says he'll come back a warrior. Right.
And we've done story after story where they say, no, Jesus would actually be in favor of the rich, because in one part of the Bible it says, you've got to work hard to get your, to feed your family or whatever. And they're like, aha, see, Jesus loves the rich. But except they don't quote all the parts where Jesus says it's harder for a rich person to get into heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. Jesus really, really didn't like the rich. Jesus makes Karl Marx look like a conservative.
Yes.
Okay? Read the New Testament.
Loaves and fishes.
Right, and all that. So in this case, the other thing that's happening, now of course Carrie Underwood isn't Catholic, she's Baptist, but Baptists in this country also used to be caring and looking out for the poor and needy, like for example, Jimmy Carter, right? Jimmy Carter's a great Christian with an open heart, love each other, et cetera, right? And then we had religious leaders in this country who were incredibly progressive, like Reverend Martin Luther King.
The civil rights movement was led by religious leaders.
Yes. Absolutely. Almost all of them were deeply religious, and some were literally, a lot of them were literally reverends. And then country singers, which she's in that category, used to be totally liberal. Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson,
anti-establishment.
Right, the folk singers downright communist, right? So these guys who were so anti-establishment, the country singers used to literally flick off the establishment, as Johnny Cash did on a cover, right? And the man in black looks out for those who are in need, right? And they loved Jesus, and they were country singers, and it made all sense. But we've gotten away from that. And what perhaps, like with the leadership of the Pope, et cetera, he's reminding people, hey, you can call yourself a good Christian and not be a prick. You could actually be open and caring and loving. And Carrie Underwood's adding to that, so that's great.
And you can be a capitalist and still have a soul.